Here's one that I've made already, and you'll see that it's got this flap strap here because I've been wanting to make them without using any plastic whatsoever. So instead of using a popper, I've used this where you just tuck your flap underneath. So you put your sandwich in or your snack or whatever, and then you can just tuck the flap in like that. But also, because I want it to be plastic free, I've made mine with just a shiny cotton lining. Hi, this is Alison here from Frutejuice, and amongst other things in my Etsy shop I sell patterns. This pattern is for a reusable and washable fabric sandwich or a snack bag. So the pattern comes in 3 pieces. So you cut these out, stick these together, and then this one is for the strap area. So I'll cut out the bits that need cutting out. So now you'll have your pieces 1, 2 and 3. So now what we need to do is stitch these 2 pattern pieces together, and you'll see this area here, it's kind of like greyish. What you need to do is to cover this area with number 1 pattern piece and stick it down. So you basically level it up and then stick it down, and you can do that either with a glue stick, and I tend to just put a couple of dabs in just to hold it in place. Then put it in place, get a piece of sellotape, sticky tape. So that's the pattern all prepared and ready to go. You can either make this strap, that's what this piece is for. You can just use a piece of ribbon or a piece of like woven tape to make this piece instead if you'd prefer. If you want to make that piece, this is the flap strap piece. If not, you don't need to print that or cut that out at all. These are the fabrics that I'm going to be using to make my sandwich bag today. So I've got this for the lining, and it's 100% cotton, and it's got like a sheen to it, and I found that works quite nicely for these sandwich bags. So I've laid down my fabric. I'm going to lay my pattern right up to the edge. I'm going to use my rotary cutter to cut this out. And as it says on the pattern, cut 1 of main fabric and 1 of lining. And here I've got my 3 pieces of fabric. So what I like to do is I like to get the flap piece, fold it in half, right sides out, open it up, there we go. So I'm going to top stitch quite close to the edge. There we have the strap finished. On this pattern piece, you'll notice down here it shows you the placement of the flap strap that we made. So here's the flap strap, and this is where it goes. Okay, make sure the pattern's in the right place, and then you can see there where the strap needs to be. Okay, and it's a bit longer. I like to have a little bit extra to play with, so then just pop a pin in that side. So there you go, you can see that's in place. Just going to quick row of stitches in there. Don't think you can see that, but those stitches will be hidden in the seam allowance. And then we'll do the opposite side, and then what that does, that means that this is held in place whilst we sew the rest of it. Now we have our fabrics right sides together. So we're going to sew all around the edge, but we're going to leave a little gap here for turning it round the other way. And if you want, you can put a pin in to mark where you're going to stop. I don't mind too much about that. So I'm going to leave a good bit to turn it. So here you see we've sewn all the way around the edge, all the way around, and we've left this gap here so that we'll turn it so that the right sides are out. What we're going to do is just trim these corners off. Okay, so here, now we've sewn all the way around, I'm going to turn it the right way out. I've got this old knitting needle, and I'm just going to poke into the corners so that it's poked out nicely. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is give this a press. Here's the strap in place. So without it folded, I'm just going to sew across there so that it not only closes the gap, but it's got a nice top stitch as well. And I'm just going to do 1/4 of an inch top stitch in all across there. Now we're going to fold it up to the length that we want it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew along here and top stitch all of this together, and I am going to go across the bottom as well. So I'm going to sew all the way around the edge. Okay, now if you want to, you can top stitch around here. There we have the finished sandwich bag. So you can put your sandwiches in there, and you're not using any plastic, you're not using any plastic snaps, you're not using any plastic on the inside. If you'd prefer and you wanted it waterproof, you could use some PUL fabric that people use in reusable nappies and etc. if you wanted it to be waterproof. As I said earlier when I was first talking about the pattern, I was saying that if you didn't want to make the flap strap yourself, you could use a piece of ribbon instead if you didn't want to make it yourself.